Good morning to you. Hope you have a great week and your weekend's getting off to a great start as well. And part of your Saturday morning plans, as I've said before, is that you're already planning for where you're going to worship tomorrow. And I say it again and again and again. Sunday morning worship, attendance at church on Sunday is a Saturday decision. Go ahead and lay out your clothes. Go ahead and set your clock. And go ahead and make plans. Let the kids know tomorrow we're going to God's house. And go ahead and make the plans today. And love to have you at Poplar Grove if you don't have a place to worship. Love to have you worship with us. 3476 Poplar Tent Road in Concord, just up the hill from the old Kmart building and the concrete plant on Poplar Tent Road. And love to have you, but if you got a church home, again, don't want to take you from it. Encourage you to be in your church home, wherever that might be. And so there's my advertisement for today. Go ahead and grab your Bible. Let's go back to the 27th Psalm. While you're finding that, just kind of recap where we have been in this psalm. In the first 6 verses, David just top of the mountain experience. Verse 7, something changes. We don't know what, but he goes from the top of the mountain to the deepest valley. And we're learning in this last half of this psalm how to respond, how to act when we do find ourselves in that hole. And we've seen in the first 3 verses, David says, "Hear, O Lord, when I cry." First thing to do, no brainer, cry out to God. Second thing we learned from David in verse 8, as he says, "When you said, seek your face, I did." And I'm paraphrasing. In other words, this wasn't the first time David had called on God. He says, "I call on you in the good times too." And that's a great lesson for us, to have an ongoing relationship with the Lord, not just when things go bad. Then the third thing that David does in verse 9, he says, "Lord, hide not your face in anger." And so the third thing he does is he says, "Lord, show me if I'm in this valley because of something that I have done, because I have angered you." And so those are the first 3 things we learn about dealing with these valley experiences from this psalm. We're going to pick up in verse 10 now and look at some more principles that we can learn from David, again, of dealing. Most of us do all right when we're on the mountaintop, but how to deal with those valley experiences, loss of job, health, those kind of things that come along in our life. We saw those 3. Now let's pick up with the 4th one. Verse 10, David says, "When my father and mother forsake me, then the Lord will take me up." This ties closely really to verse 8 in my mind, where David has said, "When you said, seek my face, I did." David is saying, I already have a relationship with you. And here in verse 10, what he is doing is he is, what's the word I'm looking for? Acknowledging that God is faithful. He is, again, kind of, you have to, unfortunately, just because of time, and I have been trying to be a little more conscious of time and shorten these up just a little bit, because I really do appreciate you being here, but I don't want to overstay my welcome. He's already kind of laid this groundwork. Lord, hear me. I call out to you. I have an ongoing relationship with you. Check me to make sure that I haven't done anything to anger you. And now he says, because I know that even if my father and mother abandon me, that I can put my confidence in you. And so David is, you don't get a much greater example of being abandoned than your own father and mother. And David says, even in that situation, in one of the most unlikely, one of the most unusual situations for the parents to abandon their child. Even in that case, I know that you are faithful. And so to me, that statement kind of builds on what David had already been saying, that, Lord, I want you to hear me. Lord, I know we have an ongoing relationship. Check me to make sure, show me anything in my life that might have caused this, because I know that you are a faithful God. I know that I can depend on you, even if everybody else walks out, if everybody else leaves me. That's why I have an ongoing relationship with you. That's why I'm calling on you. So this is really a statement of faith, and so faith, kind of faith in God's faithfulness. That David is stating here in this verse. Verse 11, he goes on, another principle, teach me thy way, O Lord, and lead me in a plain path because of my enemies. And so now in verse 11, David is just now really, if you look at it, getting around to really asking for anything for himself. First statement was, hear me. Second statement was, I've always looked for you and sought you. Third thing is to make sure I haven't done anything to offend you. I haven't committed a sin. I know I can trust you. And now he says, teach me the path, guide me. Show me what I should be doing in this time. We tend, in my mind, I think, two situations. When we're in really good situation, I think sometimes we tend to make bad decisions because everything's going right, and we make bad decisions. But I think also sometimes when things are going really bad, we make decisions out of despair. We make decisions without really thinking them through. And so at this point, the fifth thing we learn from David is that he says, Lord, guide me, show me the direction that I need to go in this. And he says, make it, look what he says. He says, teach me your way. And then he says, make it plain. I don't know about you, but I've seen, I've tried to follow paths before in the woods, or even sometimes even driving. Somebody give you directions, and their directions were a little shady. Or try to follow the path. I don't know, maybe some of you have experienced that maybe as growing up as a kid and out playing maybe in the woods, and you think you've got, and all of a sudden you look and you can't find the path anymore. David says, make it plain. Lord, make it very clear what I should do. And so the next thing David asks for here is guidance. Then he says in verse 12, deliver me not over unto the will of my enemies, for false witnesses are risen up against me, and such as breathe out cruelty. And so his next request here then is, David doesn't beat around the bush. He asks for victory. God, help me defeat my enemies. Don't deliver me to the enemies. And so he makes his request very clear. One of the things I think that we need to learn in prayer is to make our request very clear. I've done it. I'm guilty of it. I hear others do it. Lord, bless so and so. Well, I don't know what bless so and so looks like. Do you? You could define that in a lot of different ways. And so David makes it very clear. Lord, I'm wanting to experience victory in this matter. I want to have victory over my enemies, and I want to be able to overcome these that are against me. And then he says, I had fainted unless I had believed to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Again, David expresses confidence. He says here, I know that I will see the goodness of the Lord. He says, I'm going to experience the good things of God. And so the land of the living here actually is a little bit contradictory to our understanding, or it's say that. Let me back up and say that again. The land of the living here, David is saying, I'm going to see victory in the land of the living, not as in the contrast would be to Sheol or the land of the dead or hell. And David says, I'm going to see victory in this earth, and I'm gonna know victory. Let me point out one thing to you, and some of you may get mad at me, but you may not like this. But I'll point out something to you. You'll notice in verse 13, in the King James Version, anyway. If you're looking at a King James Version Bible, you will notice that those three words, "I had fainted." What that means is when you see words in italics like that, you'll notice up in verse 8, you see, "When thou sayest," read it, you can see it. When you see words that are in italics, what that means is that those words were not in the original manuscripts, but translators have put those words there to clarify for us the sentence. The sentence would have made sense in the Hebrew language, but when it was translated directly to English, the sentence didn't make sense. And so, such as "breathe out cruelty, unless I had believed to see the goodness of the Lord." And so those words weren't there in the original text. But what it simply is saying is that David, his confidence in God, is what has gotten him through to this point. And so David, the next thing we learn here then is that David he expresses his confidence, his faith, his trust in God, that God has brought him through. And then finally David says, "Wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thy heart. Wait, I say, unto the Lord." And so then the final thing we learn about dealing with these valley experiences is David. It's almost more advice for the reader than it is himself, I guess. He's reminding us or encouraging us to be patient, to wait on the Lord. That we continue to be strong, we continue to be of good courage, and wait, he says, on the Lord. He says it twice in that verse. Wait on the Lord, wait, I say, on the Lord. And so David reminds us to have patience, that we can trust God even in our time of sorrow. So let's just run real quickly back through those principles again that we see in these verses for dealing with those devastating, discouraging times in our life. Verse 7, he cries to the Lord. Verse 8, he already had a relationship with God. When you said, "Seek my face," I did it. And so he had an ongoing. Before you get to the valley, already be prepared. It's kind of like, we have, what do they call them today? Preppers that store up a lot of food and medicine and stuff, getting ready in case. And David kind of is encouraging us to prep spiritually for the valley. Call on Lord, prep. Make sure, verse 9 teaches us to make sure that God is not, that we haven't done anything that makes the situation worse. Verse 10, he expresses his confidence in God and knows that and expresses his faith in God. Verse 11, he asks for guidance as he walks through this difficult time, asks for the leadership of God. Then verse 12, very simply, he says, Lord, rescue me. This is what I need. I need saving. I need deliverance from this situation. Verse 13, again, he expresses confidence once again in the goodness of God. And then finally, he encourages us to be patient, to wait on the Lord. And so I hope that list, I hope maybe you'll write those down, go back and listen to this over and write that list down and put it up somewhere, because you may not need it today, but you may need it tomorrow. And you'll certainly, if you didn't hear any of the rest of them, hear the second one. Go ahead and prep now. Go ahead and get your first aid kit together. Go ahead and get some groceries stocked up. Get ready. Go ahead and build that relationship with God. Go ahead and start praying now. Go ahead and start studying his word and get ready for the day when everything goes bad. And then pray that you don't need it. All right. Hope that helps you. Hope you have a great weekend. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow in God's house.